So we're doing this story on corner crossing, and we know that you all have posted about it, and I believe probably something you deal with. Can you tell me from a property owner's perspective, maybe some conflict with corner crossing?
Sure. We refer to it as corner trespass because we are talking about using private property as a public thoroughfare for, for whatever purpose. And we think that's inappropriate. And it's really, when you talk about corner trespass and it's really more of a theoretical issue because the civilian version of GPS that's available to consumers doesn't pinpoint where those corners are at. It gives an approximation, good within a few dozen yards, but nobody knows when they're out in the wild where those corners are at. So by necessity, they're stepping onto private property and potentially, over it could be over quite a length of area where they're on private property.
And and you'll have to excuse me. I'm still very new to this subject, and I mean, why is trespassing like that? Trying to get from into public land, even if it is just sort of walking through. I mean, why is that such a bad thing?
Sure, the question really boils down to how much um, trespass is acceptable, and to us, it's none because it leads to ever expanding boundaries of what's allowable of trespass. So if we allow, if you start with somebody, allowing the public to start crossing, say through your backyard, pretty soon they're riding bikes through there, and pretty soon they're wanting to go through the front yard too. So it just one thing leads to another. So we just have. I think, in our Constitution, we set up a black and white boundary that says private property shall not be used for public use without compensation being paid to the property owner. And so I think we have set up some alternatives to gain access to those public lands that don't necessitate taking somebody's property or using their property. We can acquire easements to get from one public parcel to another. We can do land swaps where we're taking inaccessible public parcels and trading them out for better property that is accessible. And we've got a program in Montana to provide tax credits for landowners who provide access across their property. So there's a number of different solutions that we already have that I don't know why so many people want to go down this route of just using somebody's property arbitrarily without utilizing one of these good programs we have.
Perfect. And just so I understood those like alternatives or sort of incentives, we have the easements, land swaps, and then the tax credits for landowners that sort of allow that access. Did I get
Exactly.
them all? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, and my much more knowledgeable in this subject partner sort of gave me some questions. Um, And so he said, what compelled you all to help Elk Montana LLC during the Wyoming corner crossing case?
We got involved in that case because we've seen this same issue in Montana come up time and again in the legislature to somehow exclude or exempt certain kinds of trespass across private property, and it was right on point in this case. Now, the decision in that case really probably only applies to that very specific situation in Montana, and I'm not sure it sets a real precedent, or excuse me, in Wyoming, and I'm not sure it sets a real precedent anywhere else. But we've got landowners that have been targeted with these kind of access lawsuits before, and we go to bat for them. And so when we saw this in Wyoming, we thought we would support those landowners as well.
Hmm. And then what could the repercussions of corner crossing be if made legal in Montana?
Well, if we diminish one person's property rights, we diminish everybody's property rights, and I think it's one of the cornerstones of our democracy that says you can own private property, it can be yours, nobody else can use it. And if we start to erode that, we lose a lot of different freedoms, and that's a road I don't think anybody wants to go down.
And then one thing is you seem to focus in on elk populations. How could Corner Crossing's future impact elk herds? Excuse me.
Boy, I don't see much connection between the
Uh,
two
yeah.
issues.
All right. And then do property owners benefit from Corner Crossing staying in limbo?
No, I think everybody wants resolution to this. Um, and unfortunately, I think it's always going to be in limbo. And specific landowners are going to get targeted. They're going to get sued. They're going to, people are going to trespass against them to try to prove a point. And it's really kind of a gross situation that landowners find themselves in. They never asked for any of this. So I think landowners are the real losers in this situation. Those ones that get targeted with these and smeared with these types of these allegations. So unfortunately, we think the law is crystal clear. We've got a constitutional right to own and exclude from our property, and I don't see that going away.
Sorry, just jotting all that down. And I mean, are there other alternatives to the things that you listed earlier? Maybe like a hunter reaching out to the respective property owners and asking permission. I mean, is that uh, viable?
Ultimately, asking permission is the simplest solution to this issue. And, by FWP's data, the vast majority of landowners who get asked permission grant that permission. So, we're talking in the high 90s. So odds are that if you ask the landowner and you have a relationship there, you get permission. The where we see a problem is there's some people that don't want to ask permission. They just think that they have a right to go wherever they want. And, those bad actors are the ones that really have driven this issue.
And then, is your group pushing any legislation uh, that could sway corner crossing in the future? I mean, I know that it's been brought up before, but I mean, is that something you guys are ever concerned with?
We I don't think any legislation is necessary to protect the rights of landowners. The law is long established and clear on um, when it comes to trespassing, and so the only we see attempts to undo that. We've killed a number of bills that would legalize trespassing in these sorts of situations, and I really don't see the legislature going that route, and it wouldn't be constitutional if they did. I think we'd prevail in court that you can't just arbitrarily take people's property without going through the eminent domain process.
Right. Are there any misconceptions that people maybe have with this subject? I feel like it's getting more prevalent, more talked about lately. Any misconceptions with it?
I think that the biggest misconception comes in the commercial GPS software. I think people assume that is accurate down to the inch, and it's really not. And it can't be. It's GPS was developed as a military technology. The military retains the most accurate version of GPS, and what they have is not available to civilians. So when you look at that Onyx map or whatever software you're using, it's an approximation, but it's not showing you the exact down to the pinpoint of what property ownership really is.
Excellent. So you would recommend not relying on these commercial GPSs.
I would say that relying on that commercial GPS is not going to get you out of a trespassing ticket.
Yeah. Is is there any concern from property owners? I'm not, I'm apologies if I'm sort of misconstruing things, but like that it could become like a pay to play sort of model, you know, if you pay me, then you get access to this public land. Or I mean, is that a concern or is that just sort of a stretch on my part?
I think I would say our property owners are extremely generous. The majority of Montana's wildlife population, especially big game populations, depend on private property as their habitat. And so, you know, in a real sense, Montana's landowners are providing these huge big game populations that everybody enjoys in this state, and they get very little credit for that. And you know, on top of that, the farmers and ranchers are expected to you know, host hunters on their property, be de facto guides, you know, help people get their animals out after the kill. And I think the vast majority of landowners are happy to do a lot of that, and they're extremely generous with their property and with their time. But I think where they draw the line is this idea that that the public has some unwritten right to cross their property whenever they want, and go places that don't belong to them. And I think that you know, the landowners in general just really have a hard time accepting that. So when you talk about pay to access, or you know, I don't see us going in that direction in this state. But I think we also at the same time need to recognize the contributions that landowners are already making.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Um, Perfect. I think that is everything that I needed, but is there anything that maybe I forgot to touch on? Anything you might want to add?
No, that was very thorough. So
Excellent. No, thank you.
yeah.
Thank you again for taking time